Hello, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 things that helped me to fully recover from chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME/CFS. Now, I've been sharing my health journey and talking about ME/CFS publicly for quite some time now, and as a result, I have quite a few people reaching out to me asking how I fully recovered. And what I usually do, because it's a lot to try and explain repeatedly in a DM or an email, is I point them to a video that I made way back when I started this channel, where I share my recovery journey and all the things that worked for me. But because this video was so long ago, it's pretty cringe-worthy. It's got bad lighting and bad sound, terrible makeup, and it's about 10 hours long. So this right here is a remake where I'm going to share, hopefully with better lighting and better sound, a more concise version, along with the insights I've since had about my recovery journey, about all the things that helped me to fully get my health back. And this, of course, is just my journey. I know that what worked for me isn't going to work for everybody else, but hopefully something in here will spark some insight for you, or at the very least, help you feel a little bit less alone in your journey and a little bit more hopeful. Overall, my ME/CFS journey lasted about 10 years, and my story is similar to the stories of so many other people that I have since talked to who have been through this. I was a really active, really fit, energetic person. I worked out 6 days a week, sometimes 2-3 hours a day. I had a little bit of an exercise addiction going on. I was working full time. I was going to university part-time. I was socializing, traveling, just always on the go, very active, and not a really good sense of how to take care of myself. And then, long story short, I got a really bad flu, and it basically didn't go away for about 10 years. So for me, this came on virtually overnight. It happened very fast for me. I got very sick very quickly, and that flu evolved into a whole host of a bunch of other symptoms. This included things like post-exertional malaise, exercise intolerance, some cognitive dysfunction, some of the classic brain fog things that people experience, insomnia, unrefreshing sleep, headaches, body aches, nausea, food sensitivities, sensitivity to light, sound, and smell, plus more that I'm probably forgetting. So since this came on so quickly for me, a lot of things in my life came to a grinding halt really fast. I was no longer socializing or exercising. I very quickly had to take a long-term disability leave from both my job and my part-time master's degree program that I was in. I initially had a fairly typical journey with this. I started with my family doctor, who ran a bunch of tests and found nothing, and who I eventually came to discover, I think, didn't even in time believe that I was actually sick, which prompted me to look elsewhere, and I eventually found an integrative medicine doctor who did believe me, ran a bunch more tests, and worked with me for a while, and eventually diagnosed me with ME/CFS. And my first about 2 years with this, health-wise, were the worst in severity. I was almost always housebound and quite often in bed or on the couch, almost all of the time. The way I sum this up and the way I remember this time period of my life is that my mailbox was at the end of my block. And probably about 19 days out of 20, that mailbox might as well have been on the moon, because there was just no way that I could get to it. And that inability to even get the mail was just an ever-present reminder, I felt, for me, of how trapped I was in my body and in my life. In those first couple of years, I was really in full-on trying to recover mode. I was putting whatever energy I had into trying to get well, and whatever money I had into trying to get well. I was fortunate that most of the time I was still able to read, so in that time I read hundreds of books. I spent tens of thousands of dollars on testing and treatment, and I really just was 100% focused on trying to get myself out of this, what felt like a prison that I was now in. After about those first 2 years, when I did all of those things and spent all of that money, I put some numbers on it in the past, but it's really challenging to say a percentage of how much I recovered. I knew I was feeling better, and I had a little bit more usable time each day, so I tried going back to work 3 days a week for 4 hours, and that was way too much. So I quit that job and pretty much gave up on working entirely for quite some time. But I was a little bit better. I could do some more things. I do remember I was able to now mow my lawn at my house, and we just had a regular sized kind of backyard lawn, but I had to do it over 3 days. So I'd go out one day, do a few rows, go in, rest the rest of the day. The next day, go out, do the middle section, rest, and then the third day, go out and do the last part. So life was still hard. I was still quite unwell, but I could now function a little bit and do a few things. And it's really difficult to know what helped me in those first couple of years because I did so many things and I did them all at once. I was taking a couple $1,000s a month worth of supplements. It was about 100 pills a day. These were all coming on the recommendation of my integrative medicine doctor. I took antivirals, antibiotics. I was doing hormone replacement therapy. I did all sorts of cleanses. I tried every type of holistic medicine out there, acupuncture, chiropractor, energy healing, just fasting, intermittent fasting, cleaning up my diet, trying different diets, just everything that I found or read about or someone told me might help, that if I could manage it, I tried it. I felt that I'd pretty much plateaued in my recovery there. I didn't know what else to try. I tried everything I'd read or heard about, and this was all the recovery that I was able to accomplish. And I was burnt out from just being so focused on recovery. So for a few years after that, I just sort of coasted, which makes it sound like it was easy, but it wasn't. Even though my health was somewhat improved, every single day was still a struggle. I didn't have a single day ever, not one, that was easy. I was forever pushing past my limits and having symptom flares and crashes. And it was just always this incredible balancing act in my life of trying to figure out how I was going to get through each day and each week. And after a few years of living like this, I realized that I couldn't live the rest of my life that way. I just couldn't keep going in that state. It was not only physically exhausting, but mentally exhausting. And I was fortunate that my then boyfriend, now husband, Jeffrey, was amazing and offered to support me financially and in every way as I went all in once again and worked on my recovery. So I scaled back everything in my life and I put almost virtually 100% of my focus on getting well again. I had some ideas of things that would work. There were things over the years that had shown promise with my health, but all of my energy had been going into just surviving. I never felt like I had the ability to really stick with any of these things and give them a proper go because I had so many other things that I needed to use that energy for. So now with this opportunity, I thought about, I think 1 year. I remember telling Jeffrey, I think I just need 1 year of really all in and then I'll be back. And after about a year, I had made ridiculous improvements in my health. I was significantly better. And after about a year and a half, I was at a place where most people would call me fully recovered. I was working out 5 days a week, hour-long workouts, pushing as hard as I wanted. I was traveling. I learned to surf. I just could do all sorts of things. But for me, I'd say about 2 years of this. And then I considered myself fully recovered. There was nothing that I did that caused any kind of symptoms to pop up or post-exertional malaise or any of that. Unfortunately, it stayed that way. It's been a few years now and my life is crazy busy, probably too busy. I work full-time. I run this channel. I have a Facebook group for ME/CFS that I run. I wrote a book all about ME/CFS. I created a Skillshare course to help people navigate the recovery from ME/CFS, which there's a link in the video description you can do for 30 days for free if you're interested in checking it out. So I do a lot. I'm working out 4 or 5 days a week. I'm traveling again. I'm socializing. So I have an incredibly full life and I can keep up with all of it. All of those symptoms and all of that nightmare of struggle is 100% gone. So what got me here? Let's start with what I didn't have to do. One thing, thankfully, I didn't have to be perfect. I used to think I was going to have to be perfect at everything for the recovery to fully happen. I'd have to get my diet perfect. I'd have to stick to my plan perfectly. I could never make any mistakes. But I wasn't perfect. I was disciplined and really focused, but sometimes I still ate ice cream or skipped my meditation or drank some wine or whatever it might be. Also with my recovery, I didn't have to take supplements really or prescription medication. And I know there's a lot of that feeling out there that the answer is going to be in some kind of pill, but for me, that wasn't the case. I also didn't have to spend a lot of money. Initially, when I started working on my recovery, I was spending so much money, but in the end, the vast majority of the things that helped me to recover were basically free. And then the last thing that I didn't have to do is I didn't have to live in a toxin-free bubble. Originally, I thought I would. I only ate organic food. I only used natural products in my home. I just did everything I could to keep everything clean and natural. And I think that's good. And I think if you can do that, that's going to help you. But when I recovered, I wasn't eating any organic food and I was living in a city with some of the worst pollution in the world. So breathing in this really toxic air every day. And I recovered in that environment. Okay, so what did work? For me, it ended up being all about supporting my body's own natural ability to heal, because I've come to learn and appreciate that our bodies have an incredible healing potential in the right circumstances. So for me, there were 5 main categories of things that I did to help my body to thrive and to help it essentially heal itself. In no particular order, I'll go through what those 5 things were. First one is diet. Now, diet wasn't everything, but it did play a role. While I was recovering, I switched to a whole food, plant-based diet. I know this isn't for everybody, and I've talked to people that have recovered using all sorts of diets, but this one was exceptionally effective for me. I started seeing improvements in my body, in my health, almost immediately after making the switch. And I also severely restricted things like alcohol and caffeine and added sugar. Even though I didn't eliminate them 100%, I got rid of them almost completely, and this really helped me a lot. I drank lots of water, and I did things to help heal my gut. Working on my gut health was a big thing for me as well. My gut health was in bad shape, and one of the biggest things that helped me with this was bringing into my diet a lot of food-based probiotics through fermented foods, which is things like kefir and kombucha, kimchi and sauerkraut, and all of that good stuff. And also with my diet was paying attention to how much and how often I ate. So I started doing intermittent fasting, and I did a lot of juice fasting, because it's a lot of energy for our body to digest and eliminate food. And when you're constantly shoving food in your mouth, a lot of your body's energy has to be diverted to that. So I had read, and I found this in my own experience, that by giving your body breaks from that energy-intensive work of food digestion and elimination, it can then divert that energy to other things, like healing. Second thing that I did to recover are some things that sort of fall under general healing support. One thing was supporting my lymphatic system. It felt like my lymphatic system was really sluggish. I felt toxic all the time, like there was just poison in my body that I was just marinating in. And I noticed, if I did eat bad food or drink alcohol, it seemed to take a really long time to get that stuff out of my body. So by supporting my lymphatic system, because our lymphatic system, we have more lymph fluid in our body than blood, and there's no pump. Like our heart pumps our blood, we have to do things for our lymphatic fluid to move. So this was things like gentle movement and stretching, getting massages, taking alternating hot and cold showers, and so forth. And the last part of this second category had to do with sleep. Getting adequate and good quality sleep was such a game changer for me. I really prioritized my sleep in my recovery. And I've said this in other videos, and sometimes it upsets people a little bit, because I think understandably we feel a bit defensive. Like, what are you saying? Are you saying I don't prioritize my sleep? We all want to sleep better. If we would, we could. But I found that even though I thought I knew everything about sleep, I actually didn't. And there were a lot more things that I could be doing to help myself with sleep. And once I started doing those things, it made a world of difference. Because the majority of healing that happens in our body actually happens while we're asleep. So getting that sufficient good quality sleep is really important when you're trying to recover from a chronic health condition. Some things that helped me with this were getting in the habit of getting some early morning sun. I had no idea how important this was. Our bodies work on a sort of natural clock where things need to be triggered at certain times for our circadian rhythm and to be in the right place and for the right hormones to be triggered at the right time. And our bodies evolved to be out in nature. So how this whole system is kicked into motion every day is one of the ways is by getting outside early in the morning, shortly after the sun comes up, and exposing yourself to some sun. And this way, your body clock is on the right time, and then come nighttime, it's ready to shut down and it's ready to go to sleep. Also, this one sounds kind of hippy-dippy, but doing some earthing or some grounding, actually connecting with the earth or some sort of conductor like a tree that is connected to the earth, because again, we evolved to be environments where we would be connected with the earth frequently. And there are scientifically proven benefits for this for as little as 1 minute a day of putting your toes in the grass or hugging a tree, doing something to connect with the earth. Not only does it help with our circadian rhythm, it also helps with things like reducing inflammation. I also watched very carefully what I ate and drank. Caffeine is a big one for me. It really messes up my sleep, but also is the consumption of things like alcohol, sugar, and white flour products, because all of these convert to glucose in our body and they disrupt our sleep in the evening. Also things like earplugs, eye mask, blackout blinds, anything to block out sound or light is very helpful as well. A tiny pinprick of light can be enough to shut down our melatonin production. So doing what you can to create a cool, quiet, dark environment to sleep in, I find is also really helpful. I also have some things, I did a video about this recently on my nightstand that help me a lot. I have a sunlight simulator that I use instead of an alarm clock, so it wakes me up more naturally in the morning. I have a white noise machine that I turn on while I sleep, so it drowns out noise and helps me to wake up less throughout the night. And I have a meditation timer, so I do a few minutes of silent meditation before I go to sleep, and this really helps to shut my brain down and it helps me to fall asleep a lot quicker. All right, the third thing that helped me to recover from ME CFS. This was a extremely gentle and extremely gradual exercise program. Now, I know this is a controversial one with ME CFS recovery, and with good reason, because I know it's not for everybody, and if not handled carefully, can do a lot of harm. But I had seen over the years that when I gently pushed myself, I started to get a little bit stronger and feel a little bit better. And I had read about other people who had used gradually increasing exercise programs and it had success. And this resonated for me with my experience of my body and recovery. So I started, I've talked about this in many videos, very slowly. I started with 1 minute a day, about every day or every second day of just very gentle movement. No weights, nothing like that, nothing high intensity, just moving my arms, doing some gentle squats or some push-ups off the wall. I didn't worry so much about what the exercises were. It was just more about movement. And then every week I increased it by about a minute. And I kept going like that for about a year. And that, over a year, by the end of that year, that's what got me up to those hour-long workouts. That was a part of it. Fourth thing, another one that it took me a really long time to appreciate was learning to manage my stress and my mental health effectively, and as much as possible, keep myself in a calm state. When I first became unwell and I did all that stuff to try and get better, I was quite often in a severely stressed state. I was depressed, I was anxious, I was angry. I wasn't working on my mental health. It didn't seem like where my focus should be. So despite taking all these supplements and trying all these different diets and doing all these different healing programs, I was probably doomed to fail, because I think many of us are appreciating now that our nervous system is important and it has to be in that rest and digest mode in order for healing to be possible. So when I finally got serious about recovery, again, I did a lot of things to work on this. And this was things like counseling, journaling, meditation, breath work, and so forth. And the fifth thing was a sort of combo system that I developed for myself of managing my energy effectively. So I minimized that boom and bust cycle and minimized the symptom flares and the crashes, while also having a system with that to make sure that that usable energy that I had, the vast majority of it, was devoted towards my recovery. Because I was stuck in that pattern for a long time of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, or 2 steps forward, 8 steps back. And I was never getting anywhere with this. So I had to learn, one, how to just figure out how much energy I had, how much usable energy I had every day. And I needed a system for that. And then I needed to figure out how to make sure that that energy was being devoted towards the things that were actually going to get me well. There are a lot of energy vampires in our lives, and I did not realize it until I really took a conscious approach to this, how much my energy was being drained by things that were getting me nowhere. The Skillshare course that I mentioned earlier that I created as a support for people who are navigating their ME CFS recovery is what this is right here in a nutshell. It's not telling you how to recover. It's helping you have the tools to navigate your own path and find your own journey. It's all about knowing how much energy you have, and then tools and strategies to make sure that you can channel that energy towards the things that are getting you well. And I have to actually force myself to bring this course up in videos like this one, because I have a little voice in my head saying, it's annoying, don't do it. But since launching this course only just over a month ago, hundreds of people have already done it, and people are messaging me telling me how much it's helping them, and the reviews are saying the same, that this is helping people with their recovery. So if there is a resource out there that could help you, I want to make sure that you know about it. And I feel like It's a win-win. I have an affiliate link that you can use, and with this, you can access the course for 30 days completely for free. And I make a small commission when you use the link. So I thank you for the support. I hope you'll give it a try, and I hope that you find it helpful as well. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope this was a less painful version to watch than that cringeworthy one I did ages ago. And whatever you're facing right now, whatever you're going through, I'm sending so much love to you. I know it can be a nightmare, and I know it can feel sometimes like it's never gonna end and you're never gonna get past it, but please hang in there. Good for you for watching videos like this one, and know that you are a rock star and that you have totally got this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.